A prominent MAGA influencer passed away today, and it only took moments for Donald Trump to post something insane about it, because that is what he does. The most narcissistic man in America is always thinking about himself, and especially as the Republicans closest to him turn on him as his term falls apart, and we are going to get into it all. The insane post that Trump made, and the reason why, with the collapse happening around him. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, after what we saw from Donald Trump today, a meltdown of an interview on CBS, flipping off a worker who told him at a Ford plant that he was a pedophile protector, and of course, all of the Republicans turning on him, it makes sense why he is so on edge and so upset, especially with the midterms in full view right now. And that is exactly what Ari Milber broke down here, why Donald Trump is so panicked in this moment, before we get to how that panic caused this post.
And one of the most successful candidates in the modern era, Barack Obama, certainly won plenty of elections without riding a recession, but his biggest win, the first time he took the White House, we'll add to the chart, was when Democrats swept the White House, the House, and the Senate, with voters punishing the GOP for some of those clips I just played you earlier, when Stephanie Ruhle was walking the carnage of the market floor, the housing crash, and what became the Great Recession. That's American politics, where we have elections every 2 years, whether the politicians like it or not. But as Donald Trump muses openly about a world without elections, or where he has soldiers in the streets and unitary power, I would remind everyone that even autocrats abroad have seen that bad economies can topple their reign. Argentinian leader Perón was overthrown amid inflation and the economic problems in the 50s. Same story for Ferdinand Marcos and Mobutu Seko. Rampant inflation drove the uprisings, along with other factors. You can even go to the fall of Gorbachev and the Soviet Union. Of course, it was complicated, but it was the economic failure at home that weakened the dictator's control and created a more ripe environment for a protest movement where people risked their lives to ultimately topple the government. History shows why Trump's fixated on crushing Fed independence to control the economy right now, even as there's so much else going on. And he's doing it even if it angers powerful Republicans on Wall Street and brings the clash all the way up to the Supreme Court next week. So history has something to teach us, as well as how to win for those looking at democracy versus whatever autocracy others are pitching. Now, Trump and Republicans control the White House and Congress right now. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I'll tell you a couple things. They could pass laws to better regulate AI. They could tax just those richest companies for emergency bailout funds, so that if we do face a crash, it's those companies on the hook for their bets, instead of the predictable pattern of bailouts tapping working people and people who weren't even in the stock market. They could do that right now. You could literally put that fund aside, break the glass if they need it, and if they never need it, do whatever with it, or even yield some of it back to them. Republicans could regulate crypto to contain what is an obvious risk. Donald Trump once publicly called it a scam. But they're not doing that. They're not doing long-term economic policy work to benefit the general public. If that sounds like a criticism or an indictment, well, it is the fact, and I've shown you all of the receipts. Do with that fact what you will. Instead, Donald Trump takes what he once called a scam of crypto and is grifting hundreds of millions of dollars off that industry in his own let-them-eat crypto moment, while people struggle to get by. Trump has shown he'd rather risk breaking the law, maybe even losing at the Supreme Court. He'd rather do that to cover his tracks with some short-term economic sugar high if he can get away with it. And Donald Trump knows all about the economy shaping elections. He was obsessed with that very political problem when COVID was tanking the markets.
Donald Trump understands what's coming to him, an absolute shellacking. It is why he is desperate to retake power within the GOP that is slipping away every single second. For a moment there, it felt like Marjorie Taylor Greene was the most powerful Republican out there, that she had certainly taken the spotlight from Donald Trump, and her and Thomas Massie were going to be defining the direction that the party was going in post-Trump. And post-Trump looked to be coming sooner than Donald Trump ever expected. And so right now he is trying to do whatever it takes to get everyone on board, make them fall in line by taking outlandish actions that he tries to force Republicans to support him on, or just generally trying to find anyone who will heap praise onto him. It's why he had that meeting with oil executives kissing his ass. But Donald Trump is also doing that posthumously, having people kiss his ass with a post he made about a MAGA influencer who passed away. And of course, Donald Trump found a way to make it really, really weird. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "Sadly, the great influencer Scott Adams has passed away. He was a fantastic guy who liked and respected me when it wasn't fashionable to do so." Donald Trump's first thought about anyone, no matter what, is oftentimes, what have you done for me lately? How much do you like me? How much did you like me? What nice things are you saying? Even when you've passed, Donald Trump does not see you as a person, but the series of compliments you did or did not deliver to him. He is so desperate in this moment for some love, some affection, some attaboys. I'm surprised he hasn't called up Putin yet. Allegedly, he has been texting with Zoran Mamdani, which is crazy. Donald Trump has been so charmed by someone with real charisma. He just wishes it was him. He just wishes it was him. He wants someone to be nice to him. Donald Trump knows where this is going. He is so desperate right now. He continues to fail and fail and fail, and he's pissed off with everybody in his cabinet. Pete Hegseth is a drunk. Scott Bessent is pushing back on his attack on Jerome Powell. Pam Bondi, in Donald Trump's own words, is weak and ineffective. He's sad. He's so sad. He is so desperate for a win, and he's not going to get it. The more he attacks and the more he digs in his heels, the more Donald Trump creates opportunities to lose, and lose he is. That's what's happening right now. And on the issues that are going to define these midterms, Donald Trump is bringing more attention to the fact that he covers up for the Epstein class. He's raising your costs. He's putting you in danger. He has broken his no new wars promise, which of course was never going to come. But he's doing so for an increasingly small group of people to make an increasingly large fortune that they will never be able to spend as Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That is the theme of Donald Trump's administration. And who has benefited the most? Through it all, it is Donald Trump. The only lens he is ever able to see anything through is his own, which is why I say to the Republicans who back him, the MAGA supporters who love him, do you not realize the disdain he holds for you? Donald Trump hates his own supporters. He really does. He hates them. He thinks they're stupid. He thinks they're easy to rip off, and he is happy to do so. Even in their death, they are just a pawn in his game. And that is what they ultimately always find out, that they are expendable. But at a certain point, you run out of people to throw under the bus. And the multi-ton vehicle heading to a midterms crash, only so many Pam Bondis under the bus, so many Kash Patels under the bus, so many Pete Hegseths under the bus will slow it down because it won't. There's nothing Donald Trump can do to get out of this in so many ways. And it's not just the political, it's the legal as well, which I'm glad Mark Kelly is taking charge of. And he spoke with Lawrence O'Donnell about that last night.
Senator Kelly respectfully asks this court to declare the censure letter, reopening determination, retirement grade determination proceedings, and related actions unlawful and unconstitutional, to vacate those actions, to enjoin their enforcement, and to preserve the status of a co-equal Congress and an apolitical military. Senator Kelly's 46-page lawsuit complaint filed today quotes the video in which Senator Kelly said, quote, "Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders." Senator Kelly's lawsuit said that statement is simply a plain statement of law. On page 17 of Senator Kelly's lawsuit, it says, Secretary Hegseth himself has previously embraced this core principle. In a 2016 speech, Hegseth made clear that if you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do. Before her appointment to Attorney General, Pamela Bondi also endorsed this principle. In March 2024, she wrote a section in a court filing titled, "Military officers are required not to carry out unlawful orders." Secretary Hegseth's and Attorney General Bondi's statements of military law were correct. This bedrock tenet of military law, that service members are required not to follow illegal orders, is also among the first things taught to every service member at the inception of their service. Senator Kelly's complaint filed in court today includes social media statements by Donald Trump saying that what Senator Kelly said is, quote, punishable by death. Leading off our discussion tonight is former Navy pilot Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. He's a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator Kelly, thank you very much for joining us tonight. You have now turned Pete Hegseth into a defendant, where through this process, he's going to have to defend what he has done so far. And in my reading of the law, as your lawyer stated in this complaint, he has violated the law that he claims his action is based on.
Well, Lawrence, thank you for having me on. I want to commend you for the great summary of the lawsuit. And I also want to say, hey, I told these guys, I told Donald Trump and I told Pete Hegseth that I'm not backing down. I'm not going away. This is much bigger than me. I flew dozens of combat missions over Iraq and Kuwait, got shot at, nearly shot down multiple times. I flew in space on the space shuttle 4 times. I've served this country for 25 years. I did not expect that after all of that service, and then continuing my service in the United States Senate, that I would one day have to sue the Secretary of Defense for violating my constitutional rights, my rights of freedom of speech, but also due process and separation of powers rights. But, you know, this is much bigger than me. What I really worry about are the other veterans out there, you know, that don't have a platform like I do, don't have the right to speak on the Senate floor. Where are they going to be with this administration if they decide to speak out? So, you know, that's really the reason for my action today. I had to file this lawsuit because I need to be standing up for all Americans, not just myself.
Good on Mark Kelly. Fight back. Speak the only language that they understand. Fear, intimidation, and legal accountability. Bring it to them. Please continue to. It is what we are going to advocate and talk about and cover every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.